Craig again. Today we're going to be going through some of the questions you might want to ask the seller of the UTV that you're looking at to buy. Some questions would be, why are you selling this? How long have you had it? Are you the original owner? What all have you had done to it as far as the servicing of it? Are you doing that yourself, or did you take it places to have it serviced? When did they last change the oil? And also, when did they change other fluids like the coolant, the differential fluids, transmission fluid, those kind of things, just to kind of see what kind of answers they give. If you're lucky, maybe they have kept really good records and they have a notebook or something they can show you on their phone with a list of all the services that they did. In the case of mine, the guy that was selling it was not the actual owner. He was a broker and selling it for a friend of his. So that didn't work out great for me because I couldn't get a lot of the specific answers that I wanted. So this is a 2018 model, actually a 2020, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So I didn't ask quite as many questions about maintenance, but if you're looking at buying an older one, I would definitely ask more questions about the tires when they were replaced, brakes. You can see how much wear and tear maybe on your brakes and that kind of thing, but I'd ask about brakes and ask more questions about the differential fluids, the coolant, and the brake fluid, those kind of things, if you're buying an older one. So underneath the seat there's two rubber mounts where some pins go through. They snap in. You can just lift the seat up, pop those loose on both sides, and then you can slide the seat forward and then lift it out of the way. So with the seat removed, you can get to a lot of the engine area. You can see down the far side there's the fuel tank. Right here coming off the fuel tank is a fuel filter, and then down right here is the spark plug. If you're looking at an older one, you might want to take that one out, or even a newer one, take it out and just kind of look at the condition of the spark plug. This is the ignition coil, and then coming back here, this is your air intake, and there's air filter back there. I'll show you in a second. But you can get to a lot of the engine if you just pop the seat loose. You can also see the VIN number is one location you can find it easily. So there's handles on each side of the bed. You can lift them, pop that bed up, and you can see some other places back here on the engine. This is the oil dipstick, and you can also see another plate back here that has the manufacturing date. You can see on this one that it says this one was manufactured in March of 2020, and the seller told me that it was a 2018 model. I was kind of not sure that it was based on how it looked, and sure enough, this was actually built March of 2020. So this is a fairly early in the year model 2020 Bighorn. Now there's actually some other places you can look to get an indication of what model year it is besides that manufacturing plate. There's probably going to be some labels on the engine. There's one right here that you can see has the date code 2019 and December 06. So that particular part was made at the end of 2019. So I'd asked the seller if these were the original tires. He indicated that he thought they were, and you can see by the date code on the tires that they were also made towards the end of 2019. This is week 46 of 2019. So this all kind of makes sense. There's no way this is a 2018 Bighorn. It pretty much has to be a 2020 model year. I would take the top cover off, or the hood if you want to call it that, and just look at the condition of the coolant. Also see about the brake fluid here that takes a .4 brake fluid. I would look at that, and then while you're there, ask a few questions to see if the seller knows much about that, if he's done anything to it over the years. The first thing I did when I got it home was I disconnected this connector here, which turns off the beeper when you're backing up. I found that to be pretty annoying and kind of pointless, so I went ahead and disconnected that. So when you turn the key to the on position, the display lights up. On there you can see the odometer and also the number of hours that it has. This one you can see right now it has 348.7 miles. The trip 1 and trip 2 show the same, which is 561.1 miles. You see there's trip 2. And what's interesting about that is I did a little bit of digging around and I could not figure out why the trip meters would show more mileage than the odometer. And at first I thought that might be a red flag, but it turns out that for some reason on these Bighorns, at least this model year, I'm not sure if all of them are that way, but for this one at least, the trip meters, even though it says miles, that's actually kilometers. And if you convert between kilometers and miles, you're going to see that 561.1 kilometers is the same thing as the number of miles that we have. So 348.7 miles is the equivalent of 561 kilometers. So you can see on this one, it has 132.6 hours now. That's actually, I would say, fairly low for something that's 4 years old. That means they're only using it around 30-35 hours a year. I could easily see I've already used it 3 or 4 hours in just the last few weeks. So if I put 30-40 hours a month on it, or 30 to 40 hours a year, then in 4 years I'd be actually higher than this. So I'd say that the previous owner actually was not using it that much. And down below the display are all the controls, and when you take yours for a test drive, of course you want to exercise everything. Play with a winch a little bit, just make sure that it functions. You can have your left and right turn signals, make sure that those work. On the mine, one of the ones on the back does not work, so that's something I talked with the seller about. You have high beam and low beam lights. You can check those out. They're actually very bright. They work really well. Make sure that those work. This is just to turn on your headlights. So if you turn them on, then you can choose between high and low. There's flashers and a beeper that you cannot disable there. You can select two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And then below the start switch, or the key there for ignition, is the rear differential lock and unlock. Most of the time I'll leave it unlocked, but when if I'm spinning one wheel and I don't need four-wheel drive, I'll go ahead and lock it. Here's a gear shift. I pretty much only use the low and the high and the reverse. I've heard it reported, and I found it to be true, that you can start this vehicle with it in any of the gears as long as you have your foot on the brake. And I normally shut it off in gear and just engage the parking brake pretty much every time. I've heard that it's hard to get it out of park sometimes, so I've actually found that to be true, especially if you're on a little bit of a hill and you didn't set the parking brake really well. So I actually just leave it in gear no matter where I am.